Hi Tubies, it's Thursday here on Pagan Perspective, and this week we are discussing the portrayal of witches in the media. And as usual, I will post the full topic in the box below. And I'm just going to go right ahead and answer the question. So I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and obviously as a witch this does come up in conversation quite a lot. And when you come out of the broom closet to new people, it is often the case that they will start to ask you things in relation to what they've seen on TV. So for instance, like one comment that I got from somebody who I hadn't actually come out of the broom closet to, because it wasn't someone I knew very well, so I just hadn't brought it up in conversation. He saw my necklace one day and he said, "Oh, that's like the thing off Charmed, isn't it?" I wear a pentacle pretty much every day. Unless the chain gets broken. I've had the same pendant for a while now, and sometimes I need to replace the chain. But unless I've got a broken chain, in which case I can't wear it, I have it on every day, and so that is normally how the conversation comes up anyway. So I just sort of went, yeah, it's like the thing from Charmed. And the funniest thing was that was somebody right there who was a close friend of mine who knew that I was a Wiccan. And so we just shared this glance that was just like, haha, awkward. But anyway, it can be quite a useful tool actually, because you can use things like that, and then especially if you know your witchcraft fictional TV series and that sort of thing, because, you know, out of chance or maybe out of some kind of weird connection, I do actually really enjoy watching witchcraft fictional series, reading books about fictional witchcraft, like the Harry Potter series, like the Wicca Sweep series. I actually really love that series of books, because not only is it a really good storyline and really good characters, and you know, it's enjoyable to read, there are a few references in there to Wicca, and the author describes like the actual religious experiences of the characters in such detail that it's really, really moving. And I find a lot of the stuff in the Sweep series actually quite inspirational in my actual practice. So I have like pinched bits from that and obviously, you know, made it a bit more relatable to me. But I do actually use that sometimes in my practice, especially one of the I think it's a spell or a charm or something in there for a good night's sleep. I actually use the words from that book. So it is a good conversational point, and if you know your fictional TV series and books well, you can say, well, yes, it's like that in some ways for us in reality. It's a little bit like that, except, you know, we don't throw fireballs, we don't fight demons like they do in Charmed, but the overall idea of doing good and helping people, that sort of thing, is generally what witches get up to. So in that sense, it can be a good way to start the conversation off by something that people have seen before. But the question asks specifically as well about the influence that it has on children. And I think in that sense, not just children, but also either ignorant people or closed-minded people can be quite hard to approach, because they don't know anything about paganism or Wicca to begin with, so they aren't even aware that it's, you know, like a real religion, like people can actually feel this way and believe these things and practice in this way. So when you're approaching somebody like that and their only opinion of witchcraft is what's been portrayed in the media, they can have a very skewed version of what Wicca or what witchcraft actually is. And I generally find you get two sort of main angles with witchcraft in the media. You get the sort of witches are evil, they're scary, controlling and manipulative, in the way that you see in The Craft. I know the main character is, you know, turns out to be good in The Craft, but the main coven of girls there, especially the crazy girl, it gives witches a pretty bad rep because they mess with some dark forces, they get very jealous and vengeful and that kind of thing. So that really puts people off. And obviously you've got things as well like the Blair Witch Project and that sort of thing, where witches are evil and they kidnap people and blah blah blah. But then you also have the kind where the witches are good, but again so fictional and so dramatised that the actual boundaries between where fact and fiction lie become very blurred. So when you have like Charmed or the Wicca Sweep series of books, they are very, very loosely based on what is actually Wicca as a religion, or what is actually witchcraft as a practice, as like an actual thing. And then you get all the like fluffy stuff that comes with it, like the fireballs and, you know, fighting powers of darkness and that kind of thing. So you've either got just really, really over dramatized, or just a really, really bad, scary, threatening kind of thing. So either way, people are either going to think that you're evil or you're insane. And that's generally for people who know nothing about Wicca or paganism, that is pretty much the response that you get. You're either mad or you're like dark and evil and menacing and that kind of thing. And that is why I don't like to come out as a witch in the first place, and I like for people to get to know me, and then to talk about my religion and that sort of thing, because for anybody who knows me in real life, you know, I'm quite a girly girl, I'm quite scientifically minded and that sort of thing, so that doesn't really fit in with the idea of a traditional witch being somebody who walks around in dark clothing or like mad hippie style clothing or whatever, and is just like really outlandishly out there and in your face and kind of, you know, preachy in a hippie kind of way. So, you know, I don't get up in people's faces about that, and, you know, I think I'm kind of like an average person. Like, I don't really stand out much in a crowd, so I don't really fit in with that stereotype. But if you have that as a starting point, then, you know, it can give people an opinion of you based on their limited knowledge of witchcraft, so it does let you down in that sense. But then you also get factual things about witchcraft in the media, and there is more and more of that these days, and I am very appreciative of that fact. A couple of times recently there have been articles about pagans and pagan celebrations in newspapers and in local newspapers, and there's a school in the UK at the moment, I think it's down in Cornwall direction, that's actually going to start teaching paganism in school as a religion. And you know, there's, you know, factual things about that as well, which sort of cover the basics. Witches aren't evil, on the contrary, they use spells, etc. for healing and good purposes, blah blah blah. So that's quite good that witches are coming out more in the media in a good light, in a factual light as well, because I mean, I really like Harry Potter, but I wouldn't want somebody associating what I do as a religion and as witchcraft as a practice with Harry Potter, because, you know, the two things just aren't related in any shape or form. So, on one hand, it's pretty good for starting off a conversation. You can say, well, if you've seen Charmed, you'll know a little bit about, you know, their beliefs, their morals, that kind of thing. However, you know, we don't shoot fire from our fingertips, we can't freeze time, blah blah blah. And then if you're Wiccan, you can say about following the Wiccan Rede, or you can, you know, say whatever it is that you personally feel about witchcraft. So it's good for starting a conversation, but at the same time it can also give you a pretty bad rep, especially when it comes to people who want to think negatively about you in the first place. If somebody approaches you on the topic of Wicca or witchcraft or paganism, and they have already made up in their mind what they want to hear from you, or what their response is going to be, then nothing that you say, whether related to the media or not, is going to change their opinion. But if somebody approaches you in an open-minded way to discuss it, then despite them having crazy thoughts about witchcraft from the media, you can generally sway them to see that it's actually quite a natural form of religion. It's quite a natural and, you know, down to earth, very grounded understanding, you know, a love of nature, a love of humankind and that kind of thing. And, you know, when you say that you don't believe in, like, shooting fire out of your fingertips kind of thing, they generally feel a lot more comfortable because they know that you're not actually a crazy person. So that's my thoughts on the media. And I hope to see more articles about Wicca and witchcraft in a realistic sense in the newspapers as well, because it's pretty hard talking about it as it is. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing my opinions on the topic, and until next week, may you all blessed be.